Welcome to part 7 of fact-checking Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from the presidential debate. If you're new here, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. put on his own debate, and I've been rolling the clip on what he said and then fact-checking right after. Now, this one is all about the Israel-Hamas war. And trust me, I know this is a divisive topic. I'm gonna roll the clip and fact-check right after.
Mr. President, what leverage would you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war?
Well, I would have used more diplomacy from the beginning. I think we have to recognize a couple of things. One is we're a nation of compassion. All of us are heartbroken by seeing the bloodshed that's happening in Gaza. All of us are affected and horrified by the injuries to the civilians in Gaza and the damage to the innocents in Gaza. We also have to understand that Israel is in an existential battle now, and that Hamas, which is a genocidal organization, which is pledged to Israel's annihilation, it's pledged to the extermination of Jews, and it does not want a two-state solution. It wants a one-state solution, which is Israel gone. And it actually has in its charter a provision that says that it is against Islamic law to even negotiate with Israel. Oh, Israel's in a five-front war with Hamas, which is a proxy of Iran, with the Shia militias in Iraq and Syria, with Hezbollah, these are all proxies of Iran, in Lebanon, and with the Houthis in Yemen. And it's being attacked on two fronts right now. It is at full war with Hezbollah, and we have to let Israel disarm Hamas. We have to support them. Israel's our oldest ally. It is the only democracy in the Mideast. If you can imagine what a world would be like without Israel, for the first time in 80 years, people are entertaining that possibility. And in 5 or 10 years, Israel may not exist because they're no longer dealing with weakened forces that they were in the 2000s and 1967 and 1956, et cetera. Hezbollah is the most proficient guerrilla army in the world, probably in history. Iran is now a superpower in the Mideast and has the capacity to maintain a war. So we need, and to wipe out Israel. We need to support Israel, but we need to use diplomacy, and the people in the White House are not capable of doing that. We need to bring in President Xi. We need to bring in President Putin. We even need to be negotiating with Iran. And the neocons in the White House see this as us as a bipolar world where the United States is dominating the world and won't negotiate with anybody. And that is the problem that caused this.
Would you support an independent Palestinian state?
I think that has to be decided between Israel and Palestine.
Back to
There's 4 claims total that I pulled out of that. The first one being very long-winded, but he said Hamas, which is a genocidal organization which has pledged to Israel's annihilation, it's pledged to the extermination of Jews, and it does not want a two-state solution. It wants a one-state solution, which is Israel gone. It actually has in its charter a provision that says it is against Islamic law to even negotiate with Israel, and this is true. And there's many sources that have the Hamas covenant translated to English for you to read, and I'm just going to read a few quotes that back up Kennedy's points. So the covenant says, quote, Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated others before it. It also says peace initiatives and so-called peaceful solutions in international conferences are in contradiction to the principles of the Islamic resistance movement. And finally, it said the day of judgment will not come until Muslims fight Jews, and can't really say it. On to claim number 2, he says Israel is in a 5-front war with Hamas, which is a proxy of Iran, which is true. And this is confirmed in the same covenant. It says the Islamic resistance movement is a distinguished Palestinian movement. And then he said Israel is the only democracy in the Mideast, and that's true. According to the V-Dem Institute, Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. The rest of the countries have autocracies, which means that absolute power is held by the ruler. And finally, claim number 4, he said Hezbollah is the most proficient guerrilla army in the world and probably in history. Iran is now a superpower in the Mideast. Just an FYI, when he says guerrilla military, he's not talking about like an actual guerrilla. Guerrilla warfare is a form of unconventional warfare. And Hezbollah is a militia that is supported by Iran and Syria. On my website, I have an entire congressional report that really gets into Hezbollah and who's funding them, what their goal is, and everything. That's what I have for this one. The rest, I don't think is as heavy as what it's been in the past few parts. I believe the rest is all about stuff here at home instead of foreign affairs. As always, let me know your thoughts and make sure you're following me for more.